Warming up.
burping. This aside first. I need space to type. Give us a moment.
That's ready. I feel like I have to open and adjust my laptop again. It's like super flickery now. Just a few moves and it flickers so much.
Something I have to do for family.
Yeah. Be starting in a few. No one's here yet. Urim's here. Hey, Urim. On Facebook. On YouTube. No one else. Yeah. Nose is acting up. Ooh. So yeah, we'll be starting very soon. Hey, David. David's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm getting the link. Sorry, one moment. And then post to Twitter.
So while waiting,
Wait, how did it end? The X-Men thing.
Kid forgave Xavier. And happy. Armor, thanks to you. Kid remembered to focus on this and that. Cyclops gives her the pendant of Jane because they saved me before and now you saved me.
Oh wow, that's strange.
Yeah, it went a really odd turn.
Well, yeah, that's anime style storytelling.
Hey, Andre. So today's weird find online is it turns out there's a very strong following that believes that Jigsaw.
This sounds conspiracy.
Well, it is, but in a fun way. Jigsaw.
You think all conspiracies are fun?
Jigsaw of the Saw series.
Okay.
Is Macaulay Culkin's character grown up.
From what?
Home Alone.
Home Alone?
Because there's visual similarities if you age up Macaulay Culkin. The use of traps, the sense of justice, and the best part, the director of the Saw series approves of it.
Okay. That's
so it's close enough to
strange.
canon that he's the kid from the Home Alone series.
All right. I guess this is the thing that exists on the internet. Good job, Tobie. Do you feel better now knowing this headcanon has been accepted as a...
I didn't even know about it until I read it, and I liked it. It makes sense.
It makes sense. Huh? I mean, as someone who has thankfully not watched any of the Saw movies yet, I'm happy for you.
And that is basically what we will be talking about in this episode as soon as we start.
Things that we actually watch. So I guess we can start.
Timer starts. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted, not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us, we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you for joining us again. It's our 114th episode, and we are talking about finding fandoms together.
Yes, and actually, the original wording of this topic
Hey, Karen.
request is a franchise that you both love, how you found it, why you love it. Example, Doctor Who. And we figured, well, there's more than one, definitely.
Mhm.
And we try to talk through a few of them. I don't necessarily think we can like give a methodology, but I'm pretty sure as we go over like a list of things that we both like, we'll kind of remember who are you going to share the link with them?
Okay, keep going.
You didn't ask for it, but you're gonna get it. Toby is sharing the link that shows that the Home Alone kid grew up to be Jigsaw. All right. So more importantly, we're gonna talk about different, at least for now, different shows. I guess is the easiest thing to start with that we both got into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've mentioned this in a few videos, but definitely one of the first shows that Toby and I bonded over was BSG,
Mm-hmm.
Battlestar Galactica, or particularly the sci-fi reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, this isn't something we found together. It was something that we were both watching on our
Yes.
own. It just became one of the first things that we celebrated. And it's funny because we started watching it. What's this? It was towards the end of the show. It was
True.
definitely.
It's nearing the end of
It
the
was
series.
definitely. I don't know if it was season 3.5 or season 4.5, but it was like towards the end. I mean, when I say 0.5, it was like the second half of the season because they kept doing mid-season finale, mid-season cliffhangers
Yes.
like Starbuck and the Thing and then the Thing.
I mean, I'm trying to remember, was it during the time of the writer's strike? Or a little
No,
over
no,
after?
I don't think it was that. Oh, but then we did watch the writer's strike stuff together.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking of. That we were like, wait, there are other stuff, and we started digging them out.
Yeah. So, but I know, but I can't remember specific. But I feel like it was the second half of season 3 when all the boxing kept happening.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely that period. And what that would be like was because we were, and this was even before we physically met
Yes.
in person, but we would both download the episode.
Hey, RJ.
And then we would trigger. Karen is here too. Hi, Karen. And then we would trigger watching it together while
Mhm.
on a Yahoo Messenger chat. And for the first few minutes of the show, we would be quickly narrating via chat what we were seeing to
Okay.
make sure
We can calibrate
we were on the same page.
and match timelines.
Yeah, so it's really like Starbucks cursing again, and then she's smoking a cigar.
Yeah, we'll type portions of the dialogue
yeah.
to make sure that we're in the same audio level.
This is because hey, video calls weren't that common before, and
Watch parties didn't exist.
yeah, so we were already living the quarantine life.
And even at that time, there was the challenge of whether or not we had the same file.
Yeah, we
Because
weren't
some-
sure if it was the exact same download.
Because some files or some downloads would have a few seconds shaved off at the start, or
like sometimes it wouldn't have the opening credits.
Yes.
So, but that was fun, and we finished BSG together
Mhm.
this way. So it's definitely one show we like. Why did we both like the show? I mean, obviously we both like the show, but let's answer the question. I mean, one, the writing was awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, like it was very bold in that it was what we call serialized storytelling, or the fact that the show had a single narrative that has to be watched in sequence.
Mhm.
Whereas a lot of shows have a loose continuity that happens in sequence, but individual adventures or episodes can be standalone. And that is the classic episodic format of TV, which is the network preference, because that way, if people didn't watch last week, they can still kind of jump into the story this week.
Yeah, and I think I I think part of the appreciation for Battlestar Galactica was the fact that it didn't revert to status quo at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
I mean, other shows, even Doctor Who, which we also love, and we'll get to that later, tend to revert things at a certain point. But Battlestar Galactica was brave enough to, you know, you literally felt by the end of the show, things were barely holding together.
Mm-hmm.
Things were on the verge of falling apart,
And that was such like a painful. I mean, like, sorry, then this may be spoilers for some people, but there's really a
Go.
point. Shark,
so many years ago.
get the shark. But there is a point in the show where literally the main, the hero ship, the Battlestar Galactica, which was practically a character in itself, was literally falling apart, and they were spending the last season like trying to figure out how to patch it up enough for it to stay functional.
Yeah, thinking
that was
about
great.
it, even the shows prior to us getting into Battlestar Galactica, like Lost and stuff, we weren't really rushing to see them at the same time.
Well, no, because I didn't get into Lost.
Yeah, exactly. It would be more I'd watch it and I'd tell you about it, or you'd watch this and you tell me about it. It was only in Battlestar Galactica that we really started to, hey, we can watch it together.
Yeah, it was that was such a bizarre thing. And because and I was with another guy at the time, and then I would watch BSG alone on the computer, and then it became Tobie would want to watch too. So okay, let's try to watch together. And then I don't even know how we came up with the idea to chat through it so that we could align and watch it together.
I don't think we even discussed it. I think
it just happened. It just happened, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna press play now. I'm gonna press play, and then press play one, and I would always say count us down. Tobie would count down, and then we press play, and then it's that mad scramble to type dialogue. And BSG had cold opens. It would start with the sequence before it gets to the title credits.
And then sometimes while you're typing, I'm just watching and pause every now and then to try to sync up.
Yeah, so that was fun. So I mean, so that always comes back. And then we recently finished rewatching BSG again because it's on Prime Video by Amazon, and it still makes me happy, guys. Still makes me so happy. Okay, I'm gonna jump to this one first.
Yeah.
So we have a visual aid. Next one is Doctor Who, and I have the vault. I'm so happy with this book.
So I was one of those who got introduced to Doctor Who because a group of geek friends insisted I see Blink, and that's where my Doctor Who cherry was popped, so to speak.
Funnily, is that similar group of friends, but maybe not the exact same ones at a Star Trek weekly meetup, because I was just starting to hang out with VA.
Yeah.
Made us watch Doctor Who Blink also. But this happened like entirely separately.
Yeah, because mine was at the Yale party, and we were all screaming and yelling. And wait, was it the Yale party? I think it was in Tahanan. Oh no, I'm not sure now which one. But I just remember after watching it, it was such a rush, and I was like, I need to get that show. I need to watch more of that show.
But I think it wasn't until we were together that we formally got you to watch from the beginning, right?
Beginning meaning ninth.
Well, yeah, beginning of the reboot. Yeah.
Yes. Because it was we can jump back. And at first I was like, wait, that's so many things to jump back to. But no, there's a modern Doctor Who. And that's where it really started.
Yeah, I mean, like, I fell in love with Doctor Who because of Blink, but then again, it was a show that I mostly watched on my own. So these are the things that I feel like we brought into the relationship together and tried to, when we were starting out. Oh yeah, we were in our TARDIS shirts. When we were starting out, was just finding these alignments. Like, oh wow, you like Doctor Who?
Yeah,
too.
you remember? So it was a Yale party. Yeah, I remember it was a Yale party because we were all watching, and afterwards we were all screaming, and then afterwards we're going around the house and now talking about all the statues we know.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's so Doctor Who was definitely another one, and that's always a big one. And hence we have so much Whovian stuff.
And then
here.
even after Doctor Who was a spin-off, Torchwood, of course.
Torchwood. Also because Captain Jack, and it's not because we're attracted to Captain Jack, but Jack is an awesome character, and Tobie was super into Yanto. Still is to some degree. All right, and then I guess we can go through. So, um, Fringe stands out because okay, Toby eventually got me into Lost, and
Mm.
then I kind of appreciated it, and we watched it together, and we finished it
Mm.
together.
And
So
then Abrams is coming out with a new show. And I was like, oh, we can start this one from the start.
yeah,
And then we watched the first episode and we hated it.
it's like, what is this?
And we hated it so much that we nearly didn't continue watching it.
It was
But we were
super-
like,
what
let's
is
give it
this?
another
Because it's
episode.
Abrams. Maybe there's a point to all this.
It feels
you know?
like it's trying to be X Files, but it's not.
It's not Millennium. It's not. It's like, what is
And
this?
then we watched the second episode and we're
Still wasn't that impressed.
And then we watched the third and we're starting to And then by the end of the first season with the big reveal.
I don't think it was even the first season. I think halfway through the first
Yeah,
season
halfway
we
through.
were already hooked. But then at the end of season 1 with the first like big classic Fringe cliffhanger reveal.
That's when we just
It's like, wow.
wait a minute. The show's about that? Yes, it was at Paul's room. Yes, I remember.
So so Fringe is definitely a franchise close to our hearts.
Mhm.
We super enjoyed the run, and then we would eagerly await each episode every
Mhm.
week, and definitely good stuff. And I know it can be a bit of an acquired taste for some, and then it gets very trippy
Mhm.
beyond the first season, and there's a lot of like back and forth, we can say, but
I
definitely
think
a good
Fringe
show.
is non-superhero comic books done as a TV show really well.
That makes I get that that tone that was done, and
Yeah.
it really felt like Abrams just enjoying his puzzle box approach
Mhm.
to narratives. I mean, like, sure, every other episode had another MacGuffin, so to speak, but great
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah, we super love Friends together. And then we jump. So more recently, there's The Expanse. I will admit, I started watching The Expanse alone first.
Mhm.
If you go back to our episode about different levels of TV watching, The Expanse started as I thought
Hey, Mitch.
it would be a Rocky only show because it's very hard sci-fi. But then I just like super like, oh my god, the first scene on the Martian ship, like, oh my god, this is so amazing. Toby, this is so amazing. And then I had to go back and then we had to watch it together.
Yep.
Um
But again, it's one of the shows with such rich characters, such distinct personalities. It's sad it has a terrible leading man who just
terrible beyond the context of the show.
yeah, but terrible in the sense that it's so many seasons in. I still don't. Care
I'm
about
sorry.
it.
I thought we were addressing Cass Anvar's, harassment complaints, but no,
Oh, that one.
no. He's talking about the fact that the guy who plays James Holden does not attract us.
Yeah, well,
He has
no
a good
attraction.
he has a good body when he takes his shirt off,
Yeah,
but he looks dumpy almost all the time.
and even his personality as a character, you don't root for him.
Yeah,
You don't feel excited for him. I think
Expanse RPG.
we even were more excited with what's his name, the detective.
Oh yes, him with the hat, and
Yeah.
he could be quite annoying too.
And yet, as a main character, he was that type of annoying you'd still root for.
Yeah,
Whereas Holden was just so annoying the way it was portrayed.
to be fair, in the RPG art, he looks worse. But he has captured the sanctimonious, holier than thou sort of character concept that comes with Holden.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then we're the new season has just started on Amazon Prime. Only 3 episodes are out so far. I have to check if they have.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be 1 episode every week or beyond this point. And it's kind of, as much as it's fun to binge, it's kind of nice to wait every week.
Mhm.
I was seeing tweets about this, and I've been like really feeling this with things like Discovery and The Mandalorian. It's kind of nice to wait every week, and I don't know, it brings us back to these, like when we were discovering
Yeah.
these shows together.
It gives a sense of anticipation. I understand the fun of binge viewing, but I think binge viewing sort of works for me only for shows that are not necessarily interconnected stories.
Maybe.
Because when they're interconnected stories, the cliffhanger feels pointless. Because you're gonna watch it anyway, the next one immediately. So
Although I mean, we've talked about this. There are some shows, especially Netflix shows, that I feel were designed to be binged. And thus it feels like the pacing is slower and more gradual because they expect you're watching it all in one go. Versus classic TV things with a cliffhanger, assume you have to wait a period of time before you
they
watch
have
the next
stronger
episode.
cliffhangers.
Yeah.
So they have to sustain you for that much longer.
Okay.
So after Expanse, we'll move backwards in time again to one of the other shows that we really got into, and it's Utopia.
Okay, and you found this.
Not the American version.
Not the new one that's on Prime Video now, but the original ITV
If
one.
you like the American version, I salute you. I will not watch it. But the original,
I hate watch it.
The original one was just so striking. The most colorful dark story I've ever seen.
Super, as in vivid, super saturated color treatment.
It was pretty. It was well crafted. It
I mean,
had
like
the best angles.
Like one of the most iconic items from the bag is that from the show is that darn yellow bag with that makes a smiley face, which apparently is like some expensive collector's bag.
And then it connects the comic books, and the way they original really used the comic books was a great tool.
And the art looked legit indie comic.
And it had that you learned things with the characters as you went along.
Yes.
So that was a great show.
Which meant a lot of confusion and a lot of people going, "Where is Jessica Hyde?"
Now I do remember that I got you into the show because my connecting line was another one which we liked that I didn't write here, which was Pushing Daisies.
Oh,
I remember I was like, wait, look at this! It's as bright as Pushing Daisies, but it's dark.
Is that how you found it? That it was like, I don't know if you can remember the thought process of how did you find Utopia?
Oh, yeah, that's part of my. I search for weird shows.
That he does. Is the Lost Room on this list? No. Okay. All right, and then that brings us to Legion. So Legion is a bit more commercial in the sense that it is, it's an X-Men character. But and then I think we quickly heard good things about it. So I don't necessarily think it was one or the other.
Yeah, I remember it was a cautiously optimistic thing at first. Like I wondered if the first episode was good.
Yeah, then it's like feeling like it's still a Fox show. We've seen what they've done with the X-Men movies, right? So what makes you think an X-Men TV series starring the guy from Downton Abbey is going to be a great show?
And surprisingly,
oh my god, it was an amazing show. I was really gonna say amazing. Why did you say amazing? Okay,
Inception. You just visuals was just stunning. The
translation of the comic book character, while not like 100% the same, but was inspired. I think was great.
Where the New Mutants movie tries to capture the cast and then give them some modern reinterpretations, which makes it fumble to some extent. Legion took the essence of the character, but didn't bother to make it similar.
Yeah.
And that's what made it work. The aesthetic was so far from what the comics were.
They didn't give him giant black hair.
The personalities, you pretty much have the titular character and his nemesis, but everyone else was like new. None of them really existed in the comic books. But it still worked because the essence of the book and the feel was there.
Yeah. And the kind of stories that were Legion stories. Then these stories, while different, felt like Legion stories. Still super recommended. Still great stuff. Hey people, are we boring you? But then this is it. This is the episode. We're just gonna keep talking about things you like. Okay. I was super surprised Tobie put this on the list. I'm kind of flattered. Okay. Say the next one, Tobie.
So for the longest time, I've always been the rom-com guy.
Yes.
And Rocky struggles to enjoy them, which is why I had to put this in the list because to my surprise, lo and behold, Rocky was the one who went, "You have to watch this. It's kind of rom-comish."
I got the book, guys. It's an expensive script book. But yeah, Game Boys. So I super got into Game Boys while Tobie was in a meeting.
Mm.
So it was like one of those things, like, well, because
It was alive on Twitter.
no, well, there's one, but then because the story being that while we're working, and then one or the other has a conference call, the other has to keep quiet, and we can't play a show while someone has a call. So I started looking for, usual TV classification, Rocky content that I could watch on my own. Then I figured, let's fine, take a look at this Game Boys thing because everybody keeps talking about it.
Everyone in his circle.
Yeah, and then
Not a beep on my Twitter.
and then I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole, and I watched like the 7 episodes, I think, in a day, because Tobie had so many meetings that day. And then it was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then I introduced Tobie, and I made Tobie. We watched it again from the beginning.
And you had all these disclaimers when you were asking me to watch it. No, Tobie, I want you to watch this, but it might not be good. But it's kind of like rom-com. But I know it's gonna be like Baduy.
But then the writing's quite smart.
But then I know you might find it boring, as you don't have to finish it. But I was like, just play it. We can watch it.
It's so something not. This is not something I would normally be the one to bring to the table.
And mind you, after we see the first episode, then I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. I start seeing Rocky watching all these reaction videos. So I'm like, wait, so he's now watching people who are watching the episode. And it's not watching them give their reactions after having seen the episode.
No, it's the during.
It's while they're watching the episode.
Yeah, Tobie was my reaction video.
So in many ways, Rocky was, watching all these.
I think I watched Game Boys as a season at least 5-6 times.
Because
including reactors.
Wait, no, not just 6 times. Because then you watch it alone, you watch it with me, so that's 2 already. So you're telling me only 4 reactors?
I didn't watch too many reactors. There's like, because some of them were super annoying.
Okay.
So at least 6 to 7. Okay, let's say that. Maybe 8.
I haven't watched one of my favorite shows Lost that many times.
Look, it has like a signature thing. I bought the freaking art book.
And in fairness, the art book's pretty good.
The art book is great.
With scripts, commentary.
And then the different articles in between the scripts includes fandom art from the community, including some friends. A friend asked me to check if his art was in the book, and I found at least 3 of his pieces in the book. And it's super, like, they'll credit his Twitter, his Instagram. So, I mean, it was super nice. I know they solicited content for it. So, I'm super excited. And then we're waiting for the 3-part finale of Pearl Next Door, which resumes soon. And then there's Game Boys 2. And then the movie, and yay. I follow the writer on Twitter. It's so weird. Why? I don't do this normally. Okay, but there, Game Boys.
So, yeah. Going on the letter G, another show that we really got into, which I think you were the one who
I brought in Gallivant
this time, was Gallivant.
Because I saw Alan Menken. Like, why is Alan Menken involved in a TV show?
Yes. I remember, like, and he's dancing and all, and then we watched it, and we were laughing so hard while watching it.
Yeah, I think from the pilot, just the opening credits, which tells you the premise of the show, the story of Gallivant,
which is being sung as it's happening.
Yes. Oh my god. We super got into Gallivant. There are only 2 seasons of Gallivant. It's so disappointing. Only 2 seasons.
With Kylie being in one of them.
Kylie was in the 2nd season.
Yes.
She was at the bar, but it was super. We super loved it, and actually, the writing was also like, it wasn't just campy. It was surprisingly good too. The character twists and turns were like really fun.
I remember there was some caution when you were bringing the show to me, because I'm not a fan of certain humor.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a Monty Python fan, for example. So when we were watching Gallivant, there was that
It was on the edge, guys.
Yeah, how campy would this get? How funny would it get, and all this and that. And in the end, we were just enjoying it so much. The songs were so catchy. We, I remember at some point we were trying to.
We were trying to memorize the
Yeah.
opening credits. There's a lyric video. You can actually sing along karaoke style. But in the end, you just want to say, Gallivant.
And it just
And it's like
Yeah.
inspired Toby to like one day he really wants to run a musical RPG
yes, an
adventure.
RPG musical.
But we have to be full Gallivant mode. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Oh, I want to watch it again. We should watch the whole show again. It's
We
only
should.
2 seasons. It's enough to like binge over the holidays, assuming we actually had holidays.
I would even share that we enjoyed Gallivant more than Witcher.
Oh, totally, totally. Witcher. I don't think we were in love with the core franchise enough to really feel like, wow, that was a great translation of this and that.
Yeah, but if you think about it, we don't know Gallivant's franchise either.
Well, Gallivant
See?
was an original IP.
So with regardless of the franchise or the IP, the show did not grab us the way Gallivant.
oh
did.
well, because that's my implied shade that the Witcher show relies on the power of its franchise for it to work.
You know, in as much as he was nice to look at, the plot just lacked.
Mm.
So-
No, it wasn't. It didn't really like jump out at you.
and you didn't feel the stakes.
Yeah, and then because it was told out of sequence, and it's like a little. I get the narrative in the end,
It
but
could have been.
it makes it unnecessarily difficult to understand.
What it could have done was learn from the other show which we love in terms of how to introduce and resolve plot twists within a 3-episode structure, and that is Jane the Virgin.
Oh my God, did I bring in Jane the Virgin or did you bring in Jane the Virgin? I think I brought it in.
You brought
I
in
brought
Jane
it
the
in.
Virgin.
I brought it in.
Yes.
It was another one of the shows that, hey, it's playing on rom-com tropes, but with telenovela theming.
And I think what caught our interest for Jane the Virgin was the fact that it had a narrator.
Yes.
The introduction of a narrator at the start just had that,
An omniscient narrator who is talking to the audience.
which we were at one point in time wondering who the narrator was in the show.
Yeah, was he like going to be the son? Was he going to be, I don't know, the lost love in the end or but Jane the Virgin cultivated what Toby calls his like 3-episode arc theory, where you feel that a lot of the story arcs in Jane the Virgin and technically telenovelas in general are introduced in 1 episode and are potentially resolved within 3.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that we wait for that and we'll start a new one. No, in between you're throwing multiple plots every time and you're just resolving each of them very quickly.
But by doing it that way, the show was able to keep it from getting too convoluted that you can't remember which is what anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a very smart way to approach it.
And then with the narrator kind of guiding you along, and of course every episode at least saying 2 to 3 times, just like in a telenovela. It was a great thing, and
then the show gets smart at some points wherein it starts being, well, first it was a very self-aware show that it was a telenovela.
yes,
But then at some episodes it was teasing, are we changing genres?
Mm.
And it was teasing, even I don't know that and stuff like that. And it was just so good.
and the way the characters were treated with love all throughout was bananas. I mean, at the very beginning of the show already sets you up with Jane, her fiance, who is a cop, and then there's Raphael, the guy who unintentionally becomes her baby daddy, his wife, who is clearly contrabida material because she's the white woman in the show. And then the mom, and then
Extended family.
yeah, and then Jane's family, and the fact that that core cast stayed in the show throughout, but with so many twists and turns.
That they were utilized in so many other ways beyond just their roles.
Yeah, and then they were practically different people by the end of the show. Better because they grew so much, because
Yes.
every plot is resolved in 3 episodes.
Yes.
Then they had so many misadventures together. but it's great stuff. I don't know if it's still, hope it's still on Netflix, but then we got to finally finish it on Netflix. So that was nice. Yay. Okay.
Then there's Adventure Time.
You brought in Adventure Time. Is it not someone? I forgot who recommended Adventure Time to us. There were friends who kept saying we should check it out. And then, but I feel like you were the one who got us started.
I think mine was work related.
Yeah, I think. I hope you mean people at work who were into the show recommended it to you.
So
it's a miracle that we've been together for 11 years and this stuff still happens.
What? Why?
Cannot explain on the show due to NDAs. Okay, so but
I heard that it was a great show, and I decided that we had to watch it. So we started to watch the show, and we really just fell in love with the characters.
In the beginning, it was like super random. I mean, like, and then think about what are the first 2 episodes? It's that slumber party with the zombies, right? And then I forgot what the second one was because it was 2 episodes filling up a half-hour block because they were like micro Cartoon Network episodes.
I think what caught us the most was when we realized the show had a large backstory. When they started talking about the Mushroom Wars.
Yes.
When there were hints about the Ice King's crown and all this and that.
Oh, I should have brought up my copy of the Enchiridion.
That's when we just, oh my God, the show is great.
And then it does. I mean, some people would mention it because it has some like connections to D&D or like RPGs, and it does have some of that sort of sword and sorcery fundamentals to it at times. But then the larger show is just completely different. And then Marceline the vampire and her arc is absolutely brilliant. Ice King's storyline turned out to be surprisingly deep. And then by the end, I was crying with the actual big finale of the show. I was very confused for a time to like, oh my God, there are so many episodes, and what the 5th season is like this, and the 6th season like this. It was the release schedule was always very unusual.
The show had
but I'm glad we got to the end.
The show had a tricky portion when Pendleton Ward left.
Yes,
there was a point we nearly stopped watching the show,
or at least not deliberately stopped, but it was less of a priority because then it was like.
It didn't feel like it lost whatever magic it had.
Yeah.
That's when we tried diving into other shows like Bravest Warriors. But they still didn't.
That didn't scratch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we headed back and we finished it. The show that did maintain its greatness.
Despite even worse release schedules.
And then when it ended, we were happy. And then anything else that came after that was just bonus materials. Would of course be
Steven Universe. And see, like the shows I really love, I've bought like art books of. I haven't gotten the new one. There's a second art book for like finishing the show.
So Steven Universe is the show that caught us super off guard because it felt like a superhero show. It felt like a monster of the week.
It felt very kiddie because again, your protagonist is literally a child named Steven Universe.
Then you find yourself really getting into the songs, and then you find yourself realizing that in as much as there was the episode lesson, so to speak, there was a lot of hidden lessons being delivered without them being spoken.
Yeah, what I love about it is that I think I've said this a few times whenever we talk about Steven Universe. Is that as a whole, the show is really one that celebrates the power of love and Steven's willingness to really find the good in everyone.
Yes.
And to try to talk it out. So Steven is not your typical hero. He has amazing powers, but then his instinct is not necessarily to fight, but his instinct is to try to ask questions and to try to understand. And I love that message. And Tobie and I super have enjoyed the Steven Universe journey together. It's awesome. I mean, plus the fact that Garnet is like a hero
Yeah,
of fusion.
and then the depths of their overall meta story. When you start learning more about who the gems are, why they reached Earth, how long they've been around, what happened to Rose, and all that. It was such a rich trove of tales to dive into.
And then in again in the end, it was like, what's this? Uh, what's this? We had been building up into the terror of the gem homeworld for so
Mhm.
long, but then come the end, I don't know, that we did not get a big final battle per se. We got something else entirely,
Which
and
was in many ways bigger than a final battle.
yeah,
So
so
very impressively done.
still great stuff.
Right now, the thing closest, I guess, to that we're watching now is Infinity Train, but it's not quite there yet.
And
Um,
it's still like it's crafted as a limited series.
yeah, and it shows promise in terms of having depth in each story,
Mm.
but it doesn't still feel as sincere.
Oh, I think if anything that we could have cited would have been, I mean, like, since we brought up Infinity Train, it's not on the list, but Over the Garden Wall.
Yes, Over the Garden Wall was wow. That was a show which I actually am happy there's no sequel.
Yeah, I'm okay with just those 10
Mm.
episodes. It's a brilliant piece of storytelling that at first feels random episodic, but
Mhm.
then it turns out to be again much deeper and more intricate. And then I feel like that Over the Garden Wall should be everybody's like Halloween tradition cartoon
Mhm.
in addition to The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's like
Yes.
those two shows are perfect Halloween
I
fare.
actually place it above Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm.
Only because
It's deep,
it's just,
man.
and
It's
it's
super
very
deep.
it's very well paced. Uh,
And that's a rock fact.
it's not afraid of humor and horror
Absurdity.
being together,
Yeah.
and its absurdity doesn't reach the point of nonsense. There's an internal consistency in its absurdity, which I really like. Whereas in Nightmare, there are some portions wherein, okay, that happened because it's claymation or it's
Mm.
stop motion, so that's why it can happen that way.
And potatoes and molasses.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last on our list, unless we think of other stuff.
Well, there are the other animations that I wasn't able to write down. Shira, for
Mm.
example, and the like.
Although I feel like, yeah, it was like we enjoyed it, but I don't necessarily feel like it was super like we had to watch,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I don't know, but it was super good stuff. But yeah, I think the last one so far is like Inside Number 9, and this
So-
is the most recent like big thing we got in together.
So we really got into Black Mirror when it was still a BBC show,
when it wasn't on Netflix,
and we
being
super loved
totally
it.
hipster.
We really enjoyed how deep it got, and then in the later seasons, it just wasn't hitting the right pitch. It just
Mm.
felt
A bit more commercial, a bit more watered down,
Yeah.
a bit more American.
still good, but
still good, but it felt like a bit more American.
Yeah.
As I dare I say.
so and for people who don't quite get parang what's that distinction, if you've seen a Doctor Who show, and then you've seen, let's say, Quantum Leap or Travelers, you'll feel that difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, they're still both good shows.
They're all time travel
Yeah.
related.
But there's a very distinct difference in how one tells the story compared to the other. So, Black Mirror's earlier seasons felt that way compared to its later seasons. And I remember I was going through YouTube for shows to check out if you like Black Mirror.
Mm.
And a number of them, once they mentioned, I kind of just meh. But then when they mentioned this one, that's when I was like, okay, this maybe should be something we should look into. And that was Inside Number 9.
So it's an anthology series where each episode is its own story.
Mhm.
It is where Black Mirror always tries to explore sort of the intersection of technology and that sort of range of speculative
Mhm.
fiction. Inside Number 9 is not limited to things that have to have a tech twist.
Yes.
So not everything is about social media interpreted into a new way. It's just situations, unusual
And
situations.
it's a show that tries to have um, either a moment of sudden awareness or a sudden twist to its narrative. So it sort of touches on Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, in that sense.
Yes.
Sadly, content and appreciation may vary depending on your exposure.
Yeah.
Because we were like raving over each and every episode, save for a few wherein we were like we called it, and it was like, oh my gosh, is it just because we're so exposed we kind of picked
Yeah,
it up
there's
from
like
the very first.
the twist. Is that the twist? Maybe it's something else. Maybe we're
Yeah,
overthinking it, you know.
and then
But
some portions naman like the other season with the football. We
mm,
didn't quite follow the plot that well because
we weren't into football, or
yeah,
at least didn't get UK football culture.
yeah.
So
So your mileage may vary, but it's worth
yeah,
diving
overall
into.
the show is amazing. It's like what, five? I heard it's 5 seasons out, and then the most recent season has a killer Halloween episode
Mm.
that is a special on its own. And oh my gosh, I was not prepared for that one.
And then, in theory, there's supposed to be new episodes coming.
Yeah, there's a new series coming out.
Yeah.
It's a British show, so it's not a season, it's a series.
One thing that
Um,
might weird you out when you watch it, though, is that since it's done by a duo,
Yeah, a writing team
they're always in one way or another
in
present
the
in
episodes.
the episode. So you might get, parang it's them again. But yeah, that's them.
The first episode is intriguing, but not necessarily a super strong sell. I
Yes.
think the second episode
Was
is what's gonna get you.
Yes.
The second episode, a quiet night in or
Mm.
something. Oh my god, that was like, this is amazing, and we must watch all of it now. And we watched it. We watched the 5 series very quickly
Mhm.
over the course of a week.
Yes. So, having gone through the shows that we have found together, let's talk about the topic. How
1
does
hour
one
in.
how does one find fandoms together? Obviously, it's by recognizing stuff that one or the other appreciates
Mm-hmm.
and opening yourself to actually exploring it, if not diving into it to see whether or not it will work for you. So when we started, I was super lost. It's amazing and all this and that. Ever since you were into Star Trek and Transformers, which for me, while I've seen a few, I didn't exactly connect with.
Yes.
But we didn't make it any requirement. We didn't like, you have to love Lost if you want to be with me, or you have to.
Yeah. We
Yeah, to
had
look into
shows that we liked, and then shows that each of us were passionate about.
Mhm.
And a lot of our early explorations or early conversations was swapping things we liked.
Mhm.
So TV shows was like was one big thing, definitely. But then like even things like Toby would give me comics to read,
Mhm.
and then I would give him I would tell him what books I like,
Mhm.
and
I will try to read it.
tell him he doesn't have to try because Dune is on that list.
Yeah.
Um,
But I guess that's the general first message, which is, you have to share what you're into. You have to get your significant other or your partner. Sorry, not get, but you have to give them a chance to see why you love the stuff you like.
That's the thing. And then
And-
and we took a lot of
Mhm.
chances every time. And then and the better you get to know each other, then it's really
Mhm.
it's like giving a gift. Okay, let's be all Christmassy because you know me, I like giving gifts. Then you really think about what might be the hook for that person, what might sell them on the
Mhm.
show, or even just reading synopses. Then it's like, oh, I think Toby might like this because it's a rom-com. So things like that, and that's like how our discovery
Mhm.
process has been like. So in some ways, we have a lot of shows that I'll throw up onto the screen, and then it's like this seems to be something we might, we'll literally talk about like saying it might be something we might like. We're not
Mhm.
sure. Let's give it a shot,
Mhm.
and then we think about it, and then like after that first episode, then it's deciding, do we want to continue together, or is it like more Toby or more me?
Mhm. Which brings us to the second point, which is if you don't like it, you can say, it's okay, you can watch it without me. You don't have to pretend you like it.
Yeah.
You don't have to endure watching it. You don't have to make passive aggressive jokes that tinitiis mo kasi mahal naman kita. It's
Yeah.
not the way to enjoy a fandom, because those type of approaches makes the person who loved the show feel guilty for now sharing it. That makes it feel more like a chore, and then once that's out, there's that. So now if I withdraw the show, it's because I'm reacting to that, and it will complicate the matter. So I'll keep playing it na lang, and then the other one might feel naman, okay, I brought something up na, but we're still watching it. So it just leads to all these unnecessary complications. So just, be upfront. Yung parang, no, it's okay, you can watch it on your own. I'll watch other stuff na lang muna. And we do that. I mean, I still have my horror shows. Sometimes while cooking, I'll bring up all these weird movies that I've seen before, or old movies I haven't seen before. And Rocky will swing by and like, is that the sphere? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what lies beneath? I only remember the shower scene. The bathtub scene was the first scene. Oh, see, that's why.
But that's the point. You just you don't have to do everything together. And if you do find stuff that you will enjoy doing together, then yay. And if there are stuff that you realize you don't have to do together, then that's still yay, because you are learning to be that open about, whether or not you want to watch something at the same time. Because it's okay. Let's just be straight about it. If we're talking a show, and a show is approximately 30 minutes, and that's a short show, for example.
Yeah, it's a sitcom.
And that has 10 episodes. That's still 300 minutes. And, are you just going to pretend you're enjoying it for 300 minutes?
Yeah.
Or worse, are you going to make your significant partner think you're enjoying it because you watch 300 minutes, and then the next thing you know, you might get a gift that's based on that show or something. So just be upfront, be honest.
But at the same time, be open.
Yes.
It helps to be open. And hence, look at me,
Mr.
recommending rom-com things. It does amuse me. We're looking at this, oh crap, I did bring in Jane the Virgin. I did bring in Jane the Virgin. I mean, Game Boys, obviously that surprised me. But then Jane the Virgin, oh my gosh, I was the one who brought that into our lives. And that's just, and at the same time, as much as I hate horror, I have watched horror with Tobie to get into it and see if I
have the
enjoy it.
scars to prove it. No.
Because you made me watch The Descent. That's still like the number one. Like, oh my God, we're never going spelunking ever. And then we did the underground river in Palawan. And the first thing I thought of was The Descent. And like, God damn. So I was like and there was really dark parts in that tour. And like, I was really holding Tobie's hand.
Occasionally stuff dropping on you.
Like, okay, but
oh my gosh.
but being open might help you discover things that you wouldn't normally watch together. And
if Rocky never opened up to trying rom-coms, he might have totally ignored Game Boys.
Yeah, I wouldn't be owning this ridiculously expensive art book. Karen's like, Game Boys will be on Netflix on December 30, and this is the Level Up edition, which includes new content, and it looks like they reshot the first episode.
Yeah, I heard that there were reshoots.
Yeah. So it's exciting stuff. Okay.
So is this like the show version of when releases of the same toys come out with new paint jobs?
$11 years, guys.
But it is, right?
Somehow we've been together for 11 years.
Because it's like the same show, but all new reshoot with the same people.
They didn't reshoot the whole show. They added additional scenes, but they may have reshot the first episode. I'm just saying. At best, that's not a repaint. Maybe you could argue it's a retool, which is different from a repaint.
So it's like Game Boy's War of the Primes or something.
You are in dangerous ice. Why are you going to this?
the set, distract you with the set.
Yeah, and then because ultimately the goal of these things when you're trying to find fandoms together is finding stuff to celebrate together. And a fandom is not just in the watching, it is in the discussions after. And I think that's also what I really like about the weekly approach again for episodes.
Like what? I was supposed to say Voyager.
Discovery.
Discovery has been quite.
Yeah, after every episode, Toby and I really are like, oh, I like that. And I liked it because of it. And just to have that quiet conversation at the end to talk about it. And I think we've lost that a bit with the binge culture that has grown up around Netflix.
And we have, I think what makes it so fun for me, well, for us, but I'm thinking it's for me because it's my perspective, is that when we see an episode of Discovery, I'm making these connections as a new viewer, but then I'm also seeing why it's awesome for you because of the knowledge you have of the previous material, which I don't know about.
Yeah, although I have slowly been like making Toby watch all Trek.
Yeah, but it's just that there is those additional experiences to be had when you're sharing that show you love with your significant
Oh my god, wait, you know what should be on this list? I forgot.
What?
Terrace House. Fun.
Okay, Terrace House is tricky to put on the list because the show did have a lot of weird stuff in the.
Yeah, but
but yes, Terrace House, we so got into.
And then
Terrace
in
House.
the okay.
Oh my gosh!
And
wait.
then I will concede. I got us into this because I started watching first.
Yes.
I did it again. Again, and then I started making Toby watch because oh my god, it's like a rom-com but Japanese, which means they're super awkward.
And I remember I was like weirded out that why are we gonna watch the show? And then even my office mates were watching it, sila Mars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's with this show? It's everywhere. And then we started watching, and then the next thing you know, we were always bowing the moment we hear the title.
Fun.
Oh my gosh, Terrace House, right?
That's like the funnier thing. Like I guess especially in this binge period when you have so much material out there are shows that midway I realize Toby might like it, and I misjudged it and said it was a Rocky only show. And I am totally happy to go back to the start and wait for Toby.
Something I could also add is that sometimes timing matters. There have been shows which weren't as interesting or weren't as fun, but then on second watch or on second attempt to explore it, suddenly we realize this is fun. Like one of the ones that really caught us off guard and how much we liked it, but I didn't include it in the list because it isn't at that level. Was The Babysitter.
Oh yeah.
Because remember when we were reading about it or we heard about it, we were like
stupid.
Yeah. But then when we watched it,
and because a friend recommended it, Flip was like, "You super gotta see this." I'm like, oh no, he didn't even recommend it. He just said he spent the whole weekend watching it. I'm like, huh?
And we were like, we might as well try it. And then when we were watching it, at first we weren't even paying attention.
Yeah, it was like passive watching while we were doing stuff.
But at a certain point, we were like, wait a minute. And then as we were watching, we started just laughing so much.
Because the guy is shirtless again.
And he literally brings it up.
Yeah. So
it's stuff like that. Timing can be a factor. Sometimes you might check out the show and you don't like it and you decide not to watch it anymore. But maybe you weren't in the mood, or maybe you were looking for something of a different vein when you were watching. So don't just give up on fandoms that you might want to give a second chance sometimes.
Together.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fair. And then like there's a couple of them like because they are on Netflix and then we never really finished before, then we can give them another shot. Like we generally were okay with Orange is the New Black. But then now I'm super getting back into it again.
Yeah, same here actually, as we've been watching.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, we should have finished this sooner.
I guess it's because they're no longer dragging on the same stories.
Yeah.
For a period, it was like, it's still the pregnant story. It's still the ex-girlfriend story. So now they're finally
Yeah, season
moving,
3 is like totally exploding into a different
and
direction.
that's what made the show more interesting again. On a similar note,
It's like Homeland. I'm still waiting for Toby to catch
um,
up.
well, they already caught the radio guy. I'm still behind.
What's that season
I don't
7?
know.
Oh, you have to
I
double
don't.
check
Yeah,
where you are.
but they
Okay.
basically caught the radio guy after he tried to stand off and lots of shooting.
Okay.
Homeland. See, I lost it. There was a show I was gonna mention, but it's gone. Oh, and then you have shows like, let's say, Doom Patrol, which we're enjoying, but it's not necessarily at fandom levels. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel inspired to put a helmet on my head and say
Mm.
fuck all the time. but,
Mm.
but it's a good show. Don't get us wrong. It's a good show. But it's like, it's not something like I'm not going to buy a book for.
Mhm.
Although I did buy the comics officially.
So I guess to bring this episode to a close, other things I could bring up would be, don't preempt the episode.
Yeah. If you're like trying to get the other person into it.
Yeah, because you might be so excited that you want to talk about the part that made you excited, or worse, you might be so excited you're projecting. No, that's not the word.
But you're doing anticipatory reactions.
Yeah, you're broadcasting in to ahead already. Here it comes. Then, or worse, you're explaining. Try to avoid those because, of course, you didn't have those when you saw it. So maybe you liked it so much because it was part of the discovery.
And admittedly for us, like, I know that as far as reactions go, so to speak,
Mhm.
we're very quiet watchers. Like, we let the show happen. And so that's why we always joke, like, we're not going to be great for a reaction
Mm.
series because we don't do real-time reactions. We'll try to finish it first,
Mhm.
and then there's never going to be a and then we'll talk about it. And then that's when we'll really process it, we like it. So,
and we sort of got used to that because when we're in the theater, we don't like annoying the people beside us.
yeah.
So we're not the type who would second comment everything. Oh my God, ano nangyari? Oh my God, ginawa niya yun. And
I mean, if it's funny, we'll laugh.
mm,
If it's scary, I'll
yeah,
scream and cut off Toby's circulation.
but we don't try to sound like we know what's going on and tell the people we know what's going on.
Yeah.
We just watch.
And we tend to watch TV shows in the same way. So there.
And no harm in doing that if you're watching alone. But if you're not, then consider at least if the person wants to hear you. It's like in a concert. When you attend a concert, do you really want the people beside you to be singing, or do you want to watch and hear them sing?
Can you imagine me trying to be calm, making Toby watch Game Boys after I had watched it already like 2-3 times because of reactors?
I'm calm when we're watching horror. In fact, I'm more, it's okay.
Yeah, it's bad when I'm already standing up and then I'm like I'm in the bedroom.
Rocky watches by the bathroom door. And I'm like, come back, it's just special effects. It's
It's
just
like,
makeup."
no, it's going to try to surprise me. I hate being surprised. Yeah, so that's our show watching adventures.
So find your fandoms. Be open to what stuff you like. Be open if it doesn't tickle your fancy in the same way. That doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's terrible.
You just like different things, maybe.
Mhm. And don't give up sharing stuff with each other.
Mhm.
You'll never know when you'll find another new thing that will ignite that spark and make everything so fun again to watch.
I mean, like, I'm still watching Farscape.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not watching it with Toby. It's like, it's okay. You're not missing much. But I just want to finish it because I started it already. Oh, it's so long. It's so long. It's quaint, but it's so long. I do not miss that standard era of television where a season is like 23, 26 episodes. Oh my God. So long. Anyway. All right.
Karen, of course, shares fandom of Baduy Pride. Well, who knows?
Right?
Maybe we get syndicated.
Feast kiss.
And then we get replaced with celebrities.
In the level up edition
and we
of Fandoms.
and we end up writing their
Yeah.
notes for them to do the show.
Yeah, please stare at the other person right now.
So that's our episode. I think. Do you have any last words? Any last thoughts?
No, I think that's a fair amount. We were thinking we might revisit this in terms of like books and
Timing.
comic books and things like that. But yeah, for now, the easy thing to focus on was TV shows, because again, it's a discovery process together, and then it's a long journey of like watching it together. Admittedly, comic books, as much as we share comic books with one another, it's not like we read comic books together.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's a different experience.
But we do have our moments of parang powwowing to talk about the comic afterwards. But yeah, so that's all the time we have for now. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. We love receiving your ideas. This was actually a contributed topic by Adrian, who I've rarely seen watch the show, but we appreciate him for sending in this topic. You can follow us on Twitter. Ha! RG Sunico, also we no shade. I'm fuzzy burying that one.
But now it sounds wrong because you switched it around.
11 years.
You could also check out our blog. That's baduypride.com for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Are you sure? Where are you checking? What do you mean? Have you
I
forgotten
was-
what our blog
I was
is?
planning to switch it around for stuff about us and all the previous episodes. But I was worried I'll say it wrong, so I stopped myself.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. And what do you think about Tobie trying to flip the script? Of course, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Tobie.
And this is Baduy Pride. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday night.
Keep watching.